Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for Z Nation. And what I'd like to do in this video is analyze whether Warren and Vasquez will get together at some point in Season 2. Um, there are a lot of hints over the season that have really indicated that maybe Warren may form another love connection with another character, in this case being Vasquez. And I want to go into that a little bit to see if it's possible, and what will the repercussions potentially be for her, Vasquez, and maybe the group. If you are not caught up with Z Nation up to the 10th episode, this video will contain spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, don't watch the video because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay, so if we remember back to Season 1, Warren had lived at Camp Blue Sky with Garnett and several other of the survivors, Mac, Addie, and Doc. So she was very familiar with all four of them. And, of course, as time went on, and I think that while they were, at Camp Blue Sky, there was a mutual connection between Garnett and Warren that really just hadn't been acted on. But the two of them really had feelings for each other. When they finally really expressed that and got intimate and had some relations with each other, at that compound in episode 6, zombies attack, the priest and his men attack, and they hold Murphy hostage, as well as the rest of the group members, and then Murphy, is able to distract the guy by claiming to be the Messiah of the apocalypse. And right before the priest is able to shoot Murphy, Garnett jumps in front of him and takes a bullet and dies. As a result, he comes back as a zombie, and Warren puts him down and gives him mercy. And she struggles with that a little bit afterwards, but, she's able to get closure. She's able to realize that she needs to continue with this mission. That's what Garnett would want. And only she is really the one that can lead the group there. And, she ends up getting closure, and she, of course, leads the group for the rest of the season and into this season. We've really seen Warren step up a lot, and she's been a great leader. I think that she's really been the reason why they've been able to go on, because she's very determined. As a character, Warren is determined. She is not going to let things get in her way of completing this mission. We've seen that time and time again. Now we start with Season 2, and we are, of course, introduced to Vasquez, who is a bounty hunter who had been looking for Murphy, because everybody, is looking for Murphy to get the bounty. And, of course, he says he wants to sell Murphy to the highest bidder. Well, as time goes on, a lot of us are really wondering, can we trust Vasquez? He really hasn't been with the group, and then within the first 2 episodes, he was pretty much, while he didn't necessarily try to kill any of them, their interests were adverse to each other. But after the events of the episode, we had Vasquez save Warren's life. One of those bounty hunters had Warren cornered, and Vasquez came up from behind him and beat him to death. So, we've seen that Vasquez does at least have a sense of humanity, and I think that Warren intrigues him. I think that he sees a lot in her in what he is. Both of them really share a lot of similarities that we have seen over the course of the second season. One is that they are both very mission-oriented. They are very much in agreement with continuing with the mission. Now, whether, Vasquez is as interested in this mission as the others, I think that there is a lot of questions still about Vasquez. Is he truly, with the group in order to take Murphy to California, or does he have some kind of a plan to potentially turn against the group, to take Murphy on his own when the chance is available? We really don't know. Because what we found out, and this was in episode 6, Zombie Baby Daddy, what we found out was that, Vasquez has been hunting down the Zeros, according to him. And he ends up finding a group, and of course he gets shot, and Warren gets shot as well, and the two of them go to that hospital and treat each other's gunshot wounds. And we find out that Vasquez, according to the story that he is told, was a DEA agent, and that a cartel had tried to buy him out, basically to corrupt him, bribe him to let them run their operations, and they would pay him a boatload of money. And Vasquez, being the honest, integrity person that he is, according to his character as a DEA agent, he said no. But cartels, and this is true in real life, cartels are known to be ruthless. And what they ended up doing was that on the first day of the apocalypse, they kidnapped his wife and daughter and basically gave him a choice that he could either help them and they would kill his wife and daughter quickly, or he could refuse and they would torture them to death slowly. And what ended up happening was one of the Zeros ended up killing his wife and daughter. Now, the man wore a mask, so he has no idea who it is, but he knows that the man has a tattoo. And he's been looking for him and trying to hunt him down. And I think that there's a very good chance that that part of the story is true. Part of the reason I say that is because he told it while the gunshot was being sewed up. And one of the things that, pain can sometimes do to us is, it changes our way of, thinking, and it changes our way of being able to rationalize things. And I feel like it would have been harder in that moment for Vasquez to lie rather than tell the truth. So I really think, in my opinion, that he really is looking for this Zero. I think that part of the story is true. Now, the question, though, is how far is he willing to go in order to get that mission done? Because we've seen in many different, television shows, movies, when characters want revenge, there are some characters that are only willing to do, just the way that the movie is set up, or whether the character has a sort of integrity. A lot of that depends. But some, revenge-driven protagonists, they won't do certain things to get revenge. Like if the person was in a building, at a luncheon full of, various different individuals, then they wouldn't just storm the place and potentially put innocent people's lives in danger. But there are other revenge-driven individuals who would. And it really just depends on the story, and it really just depends on the person. Would they hurt innocent people in order to get to that, final goal? Some will, some will not. In the case of Vasquez, there is a good chance, from what we've seen, that maybe the Zeros do want Murphy, that they want him for something. And if that is who the bidder is, then I wouldn't be surprised if they do get closer to Mexico, because we did see, they are out west. And Citizen Z did say in the most recent episode that they would have to go, south into Mexico to get around the zombie herd. Now, they didn't, they got rid of the zombie herd, but that doesn't mean that they won't necessarily go to Mexico. One of the things that I was thinking about was that perhaps when they get close to their destination, Vasquez may take Murphy. That he has a feeling that the person that he's looking for, or somebody who is a leader in, the Zeros group, is in Mexico, and he may take Murphy in order to, exchange Murphy for information about who the Zero was that killed his family. And that may be something that he does when we get closer to there. So really, what Vasquez is willing to do is very questionable and could definitely have an impact on, the way that Warren feels about him, or, how he's going to react and how the group is going to react to him. because we may see Warren act on her feelings for him, which seem to be very apparent because if you remember in the most recent episode, at the beginning of the episode, Vasquez and Warren were fighting zombies, and it was a dream. And near the end of that dream, Vasquez, and Warren were, in a romantic interaction with each other. And when Warren looked down at Vasquez again, Vasquez had become a zombie. Now, looking at Warren's perspective, I think she's very hesitant to try another relationship. Because even though she's kind of dealt with Garnett, I mean, I'm sure that she's still, sad about it. That's how we are as people in general. Sometimes we get to a point where somebody has died, and yes, do we feel sad when we think about them? Yes, but how much it impacts our lives, we find ways to cope so that it doesn't bring us down. And sometimes that can happen in a relationship as well. You get cheated on too much, you get abused potentially, unfortunately, or something else. You may have a lot more trouble with your next relationship. You may be more hesitant to go out with a man or a woman or whoever you're interested in. Somebody that may look like, they would have certain qualities when maybe they really don't. You might avoid those qualities just based on the look of the person rather than actually getting to know them, which can also be negative. And I think with Warren losing Garnett and potentially, losing other people, I mean, we've lost Mac and Cassandra this season, it's still apparent. People die in this world. People are more likely to die in a zombie apocalypse, and it can happen at any time in the blink of an eye. We've seen that on the show, and it's been reinforced. And I think that Warren is afraid to act on her feelings because if she grows close to Vasquez and he dies, then Warren, ends up having a repeat of what happened to Garnett. And can she really move on from that? That's a hard thing to determine. And I think that we really do have these two competing problems for both of them, that really both of them would have to come to terms with that in order to even think about continuing with a relationship. Warren would have to, grow to believe that, that she should act on her emotions and feelings and give Vasquez a chance despite this terrible world. Sometimes you have to take a chance. And you never know. They might find the cure. And maybe that hope of them finding the cure and that it's closer at their, grasp than it ever is before may give her that relaxed feeling of, let me try this. Because you know what? Murphy may have the cure. We're close to California. Maybe we can get it and maybe we can finally, have a little more peace in this world. Whereas Vasquez, I think a lot of the challenge is going to be, does he choose revenge or does he choose Warren? Because Warren may express her feelings to him and he might as well. I think there's a mutual connection here. But, ultimately Vasquez would have to decide. Is it better to get revenge, which may result in him, taking Murphy, holding everybody else at gunpoint and taking him away, and the group chases him down? Or, if that happens, and maybe the group does confront him, will his feelings for Warren, his friendship and camaraderie with the other group members, things like that, will that outweigh his greed for wanting revenge and taking Murphy away? Because I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that Vasquez is ultimately going to have to make that decision. What is more important to him? And when the time comes, we'll find out. Does he want love more? Or does he want revenge more? And I think that's coming up before the end of this season. Next week seems to be more of a one-shot episode as well, but I think the last couple episodes may be connected. And I saw where they may have actually named the episode titles, and if they did, then I'm going to make another video to kind of talk about this and maybe see if some of these elements will be incorporated into those next few episodes. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you have any comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if there are any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and thank you very much for watching.